Some 80s sci-fi movies weren't just strange, they were dangerous.
I am not a Robocop!
One was pulled after real-life violence. Another had censors running from the theater. These 6 films shocked studios, terrified governments, and got banned for showing a future that hit a little too close to home. Why? Let's find out.
See you in Pittsburgh.
Videodrome, 1983. David Cronenberg knew exactly what he was creating when he made Videodrome, a film so disturbing that censorship boards across 3 continents tried to ban it completely. James Woods stars as Max Wren, a sleazy TV executive who discovers a mysterious broadcast signal showing nothing but torture and murder. The twist? The signal causes brain tumors and horrific hallucinations in viewers, literally reshaping their reality. The film's notorious breathing television and stomach VCR sequences caused multiple walkouts during test screenings. Censors in the UK demanded 27 separate cuts. Australia banned it outright. And in the US, the MPAA forced Cronenberg to edit the film 5 different times to avoid an X rating, even after he had already toned down the script's most extreme scenes. What terrified authorities wasn't just the stomach-churning body horror, it was Videodrome's underlying message about media control. Cronenberg's film suggested that whoever controlled television could literally reprogram human minds and bodies. It predicted virtual reality, online radicalization, and technological body modification decades before they existed. Universal Studios, embarrassed by the controversy, barely promoted the film. Theater chains refused to show the uncut version. Cronenberg later revealed that executives wanted him to remake the entire 3rd act to give it a happier ending where nobody's chest explodes. Film critic Roger Ebert called it one of the most disturbing and disorienting films I've ever seen, while the New York Times dismissed it as meaningless garbage. But underground video rentals kept Videodrome alive throughout the 80s, creating a cult following that grew into widespread critical acclaim. Today, with our 24/7 media consumption and increasingly blurred lines between technology and bodies, Videodrome feels less like horror and more like prophecy. Cronenberg's famous line, "Long live the new flesh," has become shorthand for our relationship with screens. As James Woods later admitted, the film was supposed to be science fiction. Instead, it became a documentary.
All right, we're gonna do it the scanner way. I'm gonna suck your brain dry.
Scanners, 1981. The head explosion happened less than 15 minutes into the film, and that's when the real trouble started. David Cronenberg's Scanners didn't just shock audiences, it caused the Finnish government to ban it for 10 years and got the director blacklisted by censorship boards worldwide. The premise seems almost tame by today's standards. Telepaths called scanners can read minds, and when provoked, make people's heads explode in spectacular fashion. But nothing could prepare audiences for the practical effects masterclass that followed. Working with special effects legend Dick Smith, Cronenberg filled a latex head with dog food, leftover hamburger meat, and fake blood, then blasted it with a shotgun from behind. The resulting footage was so realistic that religious groups across America picketed theaters, claiming the film used actual cadavers for its effects. In Germany, the film was classified as a video nasty and confiscated from video stores.
You killed Ben Pierce.
Yes.
Japan released a version with nearly 7 minutes cut, and in the UK, police actually raided video stores and confiscated copies during the moral panic over violent films. Even the film's marketing caused controversy. The poster showing a man's head bulging with veins was banned from bus stops and subways in major cities. What censors missed in their outrage was Scanner's brilliant commentary on pharmaceutical corporations. The film's plot about a drug company creating psychic powers through prenatal experiments felt far too close to reality for comfort after the thalidomide scandal. Cronenberg later revealed that several pharmaceutical companies threatened legal action to prevent the film's release. Critics initially dismissed Scanners as exploitation trash, but its influence proved undeniable. The Scanner stare, the intense look before someone's head explodes, became instantly iconic. Director John Carpenter called it the moment mainstream horror changed forever. Today, the film's practical effects stand as testimony to an era before CGI, when pushing boundaries meant physically building your nightmares by hand.
No, don't! Please, Jack, no!
Brazil, 1985. Terry Gilliam didn't just face studio censorship with Brazil, he sparked one of Hollywood's most legendary battles over artistic control. His dystopian masterpiece about a low-level bureaucrat caught in a nightmarish authoritarian society was deemed a commercial disaster by Universal Pictures President Sid Sheinberg, who secretly created his own 94-minute version with a happy ending. Gilliam discovered this betrayal just weeks before the scheduled release. What followed was unprecedented. Gilliam took out a full-page ad in Variety, asking Sheinberg, "When are you going to release my film, Brazil?" He then smuggled a print out of the studio vault and organized secret screenings for film critics. When Brazil won the Los Angeles Film Critics Association Award for Best Picture, a film Universal claimed didn't exist, the studio was forced to release Gilliam's version. Countries worldwide still found ways to censor it. Sweden objected to the torture scenes. Japan cut Robert De Niro's entire character. Singapore banned it outright for its dangerous anti-government message. The film's depiction of a faceless bureaucracy crushing individuals through paperwork and surveillance struck too close to home for authoritarian regimes. The visual style was equally revolutionary, a retro future where outdated technology had grown cancerous, filling every space with pipes, ducts, and nonsensical machines. Gilliam built these nightmare sets on a fraction of the budget given to comparable sci-fi films, creating what critic Pauline Kael called a masterpiece of tortured imagination. Gilliam's career never fully recovered from the battle. Studios labeled him difficult and uncommercial. His proposed projects repeatedly lost funding. He later said, "Brazil cost me years of my life and probably a chunk of my sanity." Yet the film's influence has only grown. Its dystopian aesthetic shaped everything from Blade Runner, 2049, to The Matrix. And its core message about the soul-crushing nature of bureaucracy feels more relevant with each passing year. As Gilliam himself noted, "The future arrived faster than I imagined, but exactly as I feared."
Huh? I'm talking to you! What do you say? We killed you!
Robocop, 1987. Paul Verhoeven's Robocop was submitted to the MPAA ratings board 11 separate times before it could avoid an X rating. The Dutch director, new to Hollywood, was shocked when studio executives blanched at the film's ultraviolence. They kept saying, "Paul, this is America, not Amsterdam," Verhoeven later recalled. The scene where villain Clarence Boddicker melts in toxic waste had to be cut from 45 seconds to 7. The boardroom scene where ED 209 massacres an executive was originally 3 times longer and showed the body being literally torn apart by bullets. What censors missed entirely was that the extreme violence was the entire point. Verhoeven wasn't just making an action film, he was crafting a vicious satire of American corporate culture, media sensationalism, and privatized law enforcement. The film's dystopian Detroit, controlled by the megacorporation OCP, features news broadcasts cheerfully reporting nuclear tensions between America's allies in the intense border disputes that culminated in the 5-minute thermonuclear exchange last week. Conservative groups across America demanded boycotts. Several countries, including Finland and Germany, heavily censored the film or banned it outright. Singapore prohibited it for excessive violence and antisocial values. The BBFC in Britain demanded 26 separate cuts before allowing it in theaters. The film's famous line, "I'd buy that for $1," punctuates commercials within the movie's universe, a catchphrase repeated by characters who seem oblivious to the collapsing society around them. This satirical touch was completely lost on censors who were too busy counting bullet impacts and blood spurts to notice the commentary. Peter Weller, who played Murphy Robocop, spent months training with a mime artist to perfect the robotic movements. He later revealed that the Robocop suit was so unbearably hot that he lost 3 pounds a day from sweating and passed out twice during filming. The physical ordeal paralleled his character's loss of humanity, a theme censors completely missed while focusing on the violence. Despite the censorship, or perhaps because of the controversy it generated, Robocop became a massive hit, grossing over $53 million on a $13 million budget. Critics gradually recognized what audiences already understood. Beneath the blood and explosions lay a scathing critique of Reagan-era American excess. The film predicted corporate control of public services, privatized healthcare, and militarized police decades before they became hot-button issues. Verhoeven himself never backed down from his vision. The violence in Robocop is completely over the top and cartoonish precisely because I'm commenting on American media's obsession with violence, he explained years later. The censors didn't get the joke. The uncut version wasn't fully available until 2014, nearly 3 decades after its release. 20 seconds of film was removed, Verhoeven later said, but not a single idea was cut. Akira, 1988. When Akira first reached Western shores, distributors didn't know what to do with it. Here was animation featuring city-leveling psychic powers, graphic violence, and body horror so extreme that characters melt, bloat, and explode in excruciating detail. British censors demanded 8 minutes of cuts before granting it an 18 certificate. Australia restricted it to adults only. Germany banned its initial release completely. The film follows teenage biker Tetsuo in Neo-Tokyo, who gains catastrophic psychic abilities after a motorcycle crash and eventually threatens to destroy the entire city. Director Katsuhiro Otomo spent 3 years creating over 160,000 animation cells, an unprecedented level of detail that cost a then-record $10 million. The production was so demanding that multiple animation studios had to be formed just to complete the project. What truly disturbed Western authorities wasn't just the violence, but the film's core themes. Akira depicted a post-apocalyptic city rebuilt after nuclear destruction, where government experiments on children led to societal collapse. For a Japan still processing Hiroshima and Nagasaki, these themes resonated profoundly. For American censors, they felt uncomfortably critical of military and scientific overreach. The original American distribution was a disaster. Akira was heavily edited, poorly dubbed, and marketed as violent animated sci-fi to a tiny art house audience. Streamlined Pictures, which handled the first US release, cut nearly 30 minutes from the film's runtime. Key scenes explaining the backstory were removed entirely, making the already complex narrative nearly incomprehensible to Western viewers unfamiliar with manga. But underground VHS copies, often bootlegged and uncut, circulated among animation fans, creating a massive cult following. The film's iconic motorcycle slide scene was copied by Kanye West in his Stronger music video, referenced in Spielberg's Ready Player One, and paid homage to in countless comics and games. MTV's Liquid Television producers cited it as a primary influence. The Wachowskis showed it to producers when pitching The Matrix. What made Akira truly revolutionary wasn't just its adult content, it was the technical achievement. The film featured 327 distinct colors, when most animations used fewer than 50. The soundtrack mixed traditional Japanese instruments with digital synthesizers. The voice actors recorded their dialogue before animation began, allowing for precise lip-syncing rarely seen in anime before. Akira single-handedly changed Western perceptions of what animation could achieve. It demonstrated that animated films could be philosophically complex, visually stunning, and aimed squarely at adults. When finally released uncut decades later, critics who had dismissed it as violent trash revised their opinions completely. Before Akira, animation in America was for children, filmmaker James Cameron later said. After Akira, everything changed. The film that censors tried to suppress ended up revolutionizing an entire artistic medium. The Thing, 1982. John Carpenter's The Thing wasn't just banned. It was savaged by critics so brutally that it nearly destroyed his career. Released during the gentle alien summer of E.T., this paranoid nightmare about a shape-shifting extraterrestrial was deemed too nihilistic for Reagan's America. The New York Times called it instant junk. Starlog magazine said it represented everything that's wrong with Hollywood. The film's practical effects sparked genuine disgust. Rob Bottin, the 22-year-old effects prodigy, worked so obsessively that he hospitalized himself with exhaustion. His creature transformations, dogs splitting apart, human heads growing spider legs, were so disturbing that multiple countries demanded extensive cuts. Germany removed nearly 7 minutes. Japan cut all scenes of the dog thing. Finland banned it completely until 1994. Beyond the gore, censors objected to the film's bleak worldview. The Thing depicts researchers in Antarctica being infiltrated by an alien that could be hiding inside any of them. When Universal executives first saw the ending offering zero hope, one reportedly shouted, "You can't end a movie like that!" The studio panicked and rushed it into theaters with minimal promotion. Coming just weeks after Spielberg's friendly alien epic, Carpenter's hostile shapeshifter felt like an attack on optimistic American values. The Thing found new life on home video, where uncut versions circulated among horror fans who recognized what critics had missed. Modern directors from Guillermo del Toro to Jordan Peele cite it as a primary influence. The film that critics called the most repulsive movie ever made is now routinely ranked among the greatest science fiction films of all time. These 6 films dared to show futures that societies weren't ready to face. They were banned, butchered, and buried, but survived to become classics that shaped modern sci-fi. What was once considered too disturbing has become prophetic. The next time you hear about a film being too extreme, remember these visionaries who refused to compromise. Hit subscribe for more deep dives into the controversial classics they tried to keep you from seeing.